If you're struggling with credit card debt, first, many people are, so don't feel alone. But here are the steps you can take to solve your problem before having to employ the services of an outside professional. Before you do anything, it's probably best to start off by putting the credit card or cards down. Don't use credit for any other future purchases, if that's possible. Stick to your debit card, check, or straight up cash for the time being. The reason is unchecked debt is a snowball that builds up over time, and the higher the interest rate is, like 20+% on credit cards, the quicker the snowball grows. Now, to continue using your credit card to buy things is the equivalent of adding snow to what the snowball is already picking up off the ground. Cutting yourself off from using credit will force you to only cover the bills, buy the necessities, and limit the discretionary spending to how much cash you actually have. It will also help you see how your debt balance is growing due to the interest and not your spending. As a quick side note before continuing, I don't want any of you to think I'm somehow removed from the reality of a lot of people's situation in which they use credit cards to make ends meet. Paying their bills and buying those necessities are dependent on credit. So with that said, if you can't completely stop the use of credit cards, try your very best to limit it to the things you absolutely need. Now that we've isolated the debt balance from additional spending, the next step is to make sure you're covering the minimum payments every month. This will do a few things for you. You'll avoid late fees accruing on top of interest, you'll avoid hits to your credit, and it serves as the foundation for chipping away at the debt. Paying your minimums is necessary not only to establish a good payment history, but also to maintain a working relationship with your credit card company. You want to show them you're committed to servicing the debt, and that's important for the next step. Many people overlook how effective picking up the phone and calling your bank is. In this case, you'd be calling them to explain the situation, express your interest in getting out of debt, and ultimately asking if they're willing to work with you to achieve that goal. This could be through reducing your interest rate, which would slow down how fast the snowball builds. It could be through waiving accrued late fees, and it could even be through a structured repayment plan that's both flexible and a little more forgiving. These are all ways your bank can offer you an objective to work towards that's manageable. In some cases, banks will even consider a settlement in which they agree to lower the total amount owed. From their perspective, it's better to get something back than nothing. But debt settlements are another layer of complexity and fall under that professional services category. So for this video, I don't want to focus too much on that. So yeah, y'all, don't be afraid to pick up the phone and just ask how they can help. These companies don't want to be in a situation where you default and they have to send it to collections and they're having to worry about how they'll make sense on the dollar. It's in their best interest to help you repay them. Okay, here's where we are. We isolated the debt balance from additional spending, we're covering the minimums to avoid late fees and credit hits, and we've called the bank to see how they can help restructure the terms of the debt. Now that you know exactly what you're trying to tackle, how much, how long, at what interest, time to do the hard work. Every step thus far has been universally basic for anyone's situation, but each of us are in unique positions as it pertains to our overall finances. Different salaries, different costs of living because of family size or the city we live in, and different affinities for non-necessities. I don't buy luxury brands, but someone else does. So the next step of creating a budget requires you to get in tune with your personal finances. A deep dive into what you're doing right and what you could probably improve on. And this is hard work because most of us don't want to face the truth and have the difficult conversations around finances with ourselves or our families. It just sucks. It induces anxiety, it starts fights, but it's necessary. For your budget, you need to record your take-home pay and any other source of recurring income. Then, start by listing the easy-to-get expenses that you know you'll pay every single month. These are streaming services, insurance, mortgage payments, memberships, daycare fees, etc. Then you'll have to try and estimate the expenses that can be variable month to month. These are your food costs, utility bills, going out, entertainment, and so on. This part will require you to do some digging into your bank statements and then collect the historical spending in each category, average it out, and add it to the budget. And remember to include the minimum payments on your credit card balance. Those are an expense that we'll treat as a given. No compromises here. By doing this exercise, you'll have a very clear picture of where you are financially, and hopefully some insight into why you found yourself accumulating credit card debt in the first place. Here are some questions that your budget should be able to answer. Are you spending more money than you're earning? How much of your expenses are considered necessities? What percentage of your income is going to pay debt like a mortgage or your credit card minimums? What category of spending surprises you? And which expenses can you immediately say are wasteful? The next step is to then use your budget to identify how you'll pay more than the minimums on your credit card balance. Best case scenario, you have money left over each month, and that needs to go towards paying off your credit card quicker. Now, should you do that if you don't have an emergency fund yet? That's a discussion for another day, but I want to say no. If you don't have money left over, you're living paycheck to paycheck, time for another exercise, which is a huge pain in the ass, by the way. You need to free up some money every month, and one way to do that is by finding cheaper alternatives for some of your expenses. So for each expense you have in your budget, ask yourself if it's realistic to find a substitute. Shop around for cheaper insurance, cheaper internet and cable, lower tier subscriptions, different food and clothes brands, less expensive forms of entertainment. If your lease is up soon, could you downsize your housing? The goal is to save a little here and a little there, and you'll free up the money you need to pay off that credit card debt. And don't overlook how effective this can be. You'd be surprised how our lifestyles creep up and up over time. In fact, even if you're not living paycheck to paycheck, it's worth doing this every so often. There's money being burned somewhere. Whatever money you can squeeze out by doing this exercise and putting it towards the credit card balance is a great use of that money. From an investing perspective, the ROI on any dollar that you put towards that balance is equivalent to the interest rate that you're being charged. 25% rates of return, that's really hard to come by. And that's how you need to think about this. And there it is, y'all. The steps you can take on your own to start paying off that credit card. Putting down the credit card, covering your minimum payments, working with your credit card company to restructure the debt terms, create a budget, and find cheaper alternatives to free up cash. Beyond this, you may need the assistance of professional services. There's debt counseling, debt consolidation companies, financial advisors, and hopefully, you never need this, but personal bankruptcy attorneys. Still, certainly try and take control of your own personal finances and dedicate the effort to understanding how you can improve your situation. There's a lot you can fix simply by doing that uncomfortable work. If y'all found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments or feel free to email me at askalexherrera@gmail.com. As always, thanks for watching. Until next time, take care of yourself and best of luck.